there, my name's Kirsten. This is the Paper Knits Podcast, episode number 29. I'm a knitter from Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and I really love to knit, and I really love getting to talk about my knitting with all of you on the internet. So thanks for being here. You can find me on Instagram as @paper.knits, and I'm on Ravelry as This Is Paper Knits, and feel free to subscribe to my YouTube channel here, and I can keep telling you all the things that I'm working on. I have a lot of whips to show you today. A couple of FOs, but only kind of. And yeah, just like so many whips. There is currently a teacher strike happening in Alberta. We're into week 2 of it now. We have no idea how long it's going to last, but I feel like I had barely settled into like my fall rhythm with like kids being back in school. They immediately got sick. They were home on and off. We had like maybe two normal weeks of school, and then the strike happened. Yeah, they are currently upstairs watching TV. I am downstairs filming a podcast, and that's just how it goes. We also just had Thanksgiving, and so we were down in Calgary on the weekend for Thanksgiving. That meant I had to do a tour of yarn stores in Calgary, obviously, and so I managed to make it to 3 yarn stores while I was in Calgary, and so I've got a couple things to show you about that. I am back in my knitting room. I have not put it back together again yet. My sad, empty board up here is really bothering me because I used to have all my swatches up there, but I'm still trying to decide how I want to rearrange things in here. And so I just, whatever, it's fine. I like really dislike that you can just like see my lamppost behind me, but also I like need the light. So whatever, it's fine. Look, can you see my candle? I have a nice candle on from a local candle company called Land of Daughters, if you're interested. Anyways, before we jump into all of the whips and everything that I have, I'm wearing my Instant Crush pullover by Joji Locatelli that I knit with Frankie Gray fibers, Merino DK mostly, and I haven't worn it yet this year, and so I thought, oh, grab that, and I had to it was sitting below a sweater that has mohair, and it definitely, like a gray, white, like light gray mohair, and so it was like, I had to give it a bit of a brush. Also, I'm noticing I need to depill it. Most of it is the Frankie Gray Fibers Merino DK, except for this dark grayish blue. That one is Estelle Double Knit, which is 50% acrylic, 40% wool, 10% nylon. I can tell that there is so much more pilling on that Estelle yarn compared to the rest of it. So like there's a little bit of pilling everywhere, but like because it's such a distinct like shapes of the color work, I can see like, oh, it's pilling in those like dark blue circles of like just the Estelle yarn. So heads up about that. I don't know. It's like pilling happens, but it's kind of weird that it's like pilling at different rates, which is also kind of one of the reasons why I really dislike blending different yarns in different projects. Like, yeah, there's this whole thing. I talked all about this sweater when I made it, about how hard it was for me to pick my last color, but whatever, it's fine. So I will tell you the things that I finished. I finished my Antler Toque, which was my second sample that I made for my class that I taught about cable knitting at the Fiber Nook. And so I think right after I filmed my last one is when we had the final class. I got to see one of the FOs at Knit Night then last week, so that was exciting. And yeah, I finished mine too. So I really like it. I used Barocco Vintage, which is a worsted weight acrylic wool nylon blend, and then a mohair that I haven't used before, which was the Prolana Kidsetta, I think, and it is 70% mohair, 30% silk, and it is very nice. It's like medium price point, I guess. I used the Isayer silk mohair for my this vest. What was it called? Was this the Friday slipover? It happens to be sitting down here. It's wrinkly. And it was like quite a pricey mohair, but it was like so nice. This is like not quite as pricey, but also really nice. And so yeah, and I think like the yarn is quite soft because it's mostly acrylic, and anyways, it'll be a nice fuzzy toque. And I kind of like how the I don't know, you can't really probably tell it, but just like the fuzz kind of softens the cables a little bit. I saw my nephew on the weekend, and so I gifted him the little green sample that I had made. And it was a beautiful day when we saw them on Friday. It was like 20 degrees. And so he had his little sweater with him that matched the toque, but like he did not need his sweater or his toque that day, but hopefully he'll get some use out of those this winter. I also re-knit the toque for my son, the Oilers kind of ish toque that I had knit with Spin Cycle Trine. And yeah, I had knit it, but it was too big. And so I went down a size, and I also went down a needle size because I did have gauge, but it just like seemed too loose. So this is finished. He has worn it a couple times, but it's a bit scratchy. It's not the softest wool ever. And so we did some brainstorming and decided on a band on the inside of some softer wool. And so, yeah, we checked out different options. And after consulting with my client, aka my 7-year-old, he wanted half blue, half orange to continue with the Oilers theme. And he's like, what if you made like a headband that went inside? And I was like, that's perfect. That's exactly what I was thinking. And so I made this yesterday on my knitting machine. And so that was good. I cast it on initially, like with my, like hand knitting it. And then I was like, wait a second, this would be perfect on my knitting machine. And so I did that. And I did a little sample and checked my gauge and yeah, did a little bit of math. And it's like, it's beautiful. Let me show off this like most perfect tiny stitches that come from the knitting machine. It's actually rib. And it's just perfect. So let me double check what the gauge was because I'm curious. Okay, this was the little sample that I made. And then we decided to make it a little bit bigger. And then I figured out how many rows I needed to do. So it's 53 stitches and 48 rows per 4 inches. And so, yes, just like perfectly tidy little stitches. I love it. I'm obsessed. So that took me a little while to figure out because I am still learning how to use my knitting machine, but quite successful. I had a couple of false starts with the scrap yarn, but then I was able to, yeah, I figured out what I needed to do and then managed to switch to the main yarn and switch back again to the scrap yarn. Casting on and binding off on the knitting machine are not, casting on is easy, but like it's messy at the start from what I've been able to do. And so I just did onto scrap yarn. And then I also like picked up the stitches at the cast on and then picked up off the scrap yarn and then just like grafted it together at the where the ends meet. Anyways, so in theory it's good. He likes it. It's softer on the inside. Got this like it'll be cozier. His other toque that he wears all the time is a Musselburgh, so it's double layered and he likes that. So when he tried this on first, he was like, "It's there's too many holes in it. It's not warm enough." And so this extra layer will help with that feeling. But I just like whip stitched it into place. Like I tried to do it loosely, but it's too tight. And so I need to unpick that and then figure out how to attach it better. This is my second attempt to attach it and I need to try for a third. But yeah, it's coming. So that's my one that's like, it's an FO, but it's not because then I added more things to it. And that's all for my finished objects. And let me tell you about all of my whips now. Okay, my big whip that I've been working on is my Kiruna Cardigan, which is a test knit for Ellis Knitwear. I've made a lot of progress on it, including steeking it. So that was exciting. I don't know if I had started the shaping at the front the last time. I don't think I had. And so that was interesting to do. I've done one other color work steeked bottom up cardigan. But the neckline shaping and stuff was different. And so this was interesting to work. Definitely had to like pay close attention to what I was supposed to be doing. But you like cast off your front steek, put stitches on hold and then recast on for another steek. And so you end up with this, like, it looks so weird, and then start working some decrease shaping and stuff. And so that these stitches here were put on hold and then these ones were part of the decreases. And as you kept working the round, and so it makes a really nice shape around the neckline, which I liked. And then, you do a 3 needle bind off on the top of the shoulder. I definitely was like steaming it as I went to double check like the fabric really like relaxed and like settled into itself with steaming. I haven't done like a wet block on it yet, but then I decided to needle felt the steeks. And so that was interesting. I've done that once before, but not on a sweater. So this is what the inside looks like with the needle felting. This is Brooklyn Tweed Arbor, and so it's non-superwash. It definitely felted easily. However, there was what I should have done was maybe felt it and then pick up my button band and then cut it. Because picking up the button band adds enough like tension on that steek that some of my stitches started to come loose, which is obviously the like nightmare of steeking, that your stitches will come out, start to unravel. And so I had to, a couple places, I just like tightened up the stitches a little bit. They were a little bit gapey on the front here. So I like pulled them a little bit and then had some little ends that I tied into knots. And then I went back with my needles and refelted it a little bit. So that was on my first button band that I had done. And so then when I went to do the second one, I decided, like I'd already felted it, had already cut it open, obviously. And so I decided, oh, I'll go back with my sewing machine now and like add a zigzag. Well, I have also done that before. I've done every kind of reinforcement now for steeks. I've done a crochet chain, I've done the felting, I've done the sewing machine. I've had success and failure with all of them. What happened when I sewed the edge, sewed my steek, like I just sewed this part, right? So it wasn't catching onto the actual body of the sweater at all. And I don't know if the length of my zigzag stitch was off. I don't know if the tension was off maybe. Anyways, it was so ripply. Like it had stretched out the steek stitches and it was just so ripply and weird. And I was like, okay, well, I can't go back now. Like I can't unpick this zigzag that I've done on my already steeked sweater because the stitches are already like wanting to come out. But it was much more secure when I went to pick up the button band. And I was just like, it'll be fine. It's fine. And then I like steamed the heck out of it and it really flattened down. And so I think I took a picture of it beforehand. But I think it's fine now. And yeah, knit my other button band. I think there's 9 buttonholes. I pinned it out just ever so slightly and then steamed it, just to make sure that the button band was laying nicely. And I think it's okay. I ended up doing just like a normal knit bind off on the edges instead of doing a sewn Italian bind off like the pattern suggested. I don't really know why. I just like wanted that little bit of like a little bit more security or like sturdiness, I guess, along the button band. But it's like maybe a touch too tight. I'm not sure. It was very satisfying to finally cut it open and get to try it on because it's just like such a weird, funny shape before you cut it open. And it's very like oversized, and so I'm not that concerned about fit. But when I put it on, I was like, oh, I love this. Like, I think it's gonna be really cool. So yeah, that's where we're at. So next up I have to pick up for the sleeves, and I need to decide if I want to try and reinforce that steek again with the sewing machine or what I want to do. The steek bridge is 5 stitches. And so like you cut up the middle one and then you only end up with like 2 stitches on either side of where you cut. I feel like the other ones I've done have maybe been 7 stitches wide. It just like gives you like a little bit more wiggle room. So I think it'll be, well, it will be fine. Like I feel completely confident now about my, like the inside like button band steek. Like I'm not worried about it at all. But picking up for the sleeves, I just like, I've been putting it off now. Because I just want to make sure that I don't cause myself any problems. Yeah, still very much enjoying the color work on this, and yeah, just like love my colors. Very happy with how this is turning out. So when I was at the yarn stores in Calgary, I did briefly look at some buttons, but I don't know what I want. The pattern uses toggles, and I might want that. Like some wooden ones would be cool, but I have a hard time picking buttons, and I just like, I want to like feel like I'll know them when I see them, you know? So anyways, that is coming along. Oh, one thing I might do once I finish everything, I might get a ribbon and just sew it over top of the steek edge, which I have done one edge of my stone crop cardie, and I never went back and did the other side. But I would like to do that because it just like finishes it nicely. So I think that would be a good idea. And then it will hide my weird ripply edge. I'm very glad that that like steamed out okay. It's like a little bit thick on the other, like on from the front side. Not really though. Like, yeah, it's fine. So anyways, maybe this will be done by the next time I film, and I will be wearing it and I can show it off to you. I'm excited to wear it. So that is my Kiruna cardigan. All of a sudden I'm like sneezing and sniffly. So maybe I got a cold from the weekend, but I cut out so much stuff after, like while I'm editing, which sometimes it's like quite obvious. Sometimes I try and like do it really subtly. There might be some extras of that because it'll be me like sniffling. That's so annoying. Okay, so this is my Taylor Swift blanket, which I have dubbed Blanket Space. Blanket Space, you know, like the song. I thought that was clever. I finished my first skein of yarn, and so this was the debut colorway, and I got 11 squares out of it, and they're each about like 9.5 to 10 grams, which then I was surprised about because I'm like, oh, that like adds up to more than 100 grams. But this one is Frankie Gray fibers, and I think almost every single skein I've ever gotten from Frankie Gray has weighed more than 100 grams. And so just like bonus, I guess. Although as I'm saying this out loud right now, not all of my yarn is going to be from Frankie Gray. And so if I'm using another brand that might be more precisely 100 grams, then maybe I won't have enough to get all 11. But if I just have 10 out of some colors, that's okay. So anyways, that was fun to like finish my first skein of yarn. These are my little crochet squares that I'm using the Color Salad blanket pattern for. I got a few more of my Eras Tour colorways done, and then I started a new one. And so this one's the 1989 colorway. And so I've got 2 in my bag at a time, and so then I can kind of switch between. Yeah, so I've got some more of my Eras ones to do. That ball's almost gone. Well, maybe like half. Yeah, I've got 6 here, so yeah, it's kind of fun. I can like switch back and forth. And yeah, I'm still on the hunt for some other colorways for this. I've got one coming in the mail, and it's coming along faster than I thought. Once I finished this and knew how many squares I got, then I like did a bit of math to see like, oh, how big will my blanket be? Like I didn't plan that before I started. I just was like going off of vibes basically. And so I can get a pretty good like throw size blanket, which I think will be good. If I can get 11 squares, 10 to 11 squares out of a skein, and I have 13 different colorways to do, because 12 albums plus this Eras Tour colorway, then that gives me a lot. So yeah, that's been nice. I just do a square or 2 at a time, and slow and steady. That's good. I will not dive into all of my thoughts about the life of a showgirl, but if you care to hear somebody else's perspective about it, and also want to watch a knitting podcast, Knit California went like track by track of like her thoughts about different things, and so you could check out her podcast if you want. Yesterday is when the news came about the Eras Tour documentary, which I am very excited about. I've been waiting for that announcement, just like surmising that it would be coming, and I'm so glad that it is. So yes, excited for that. Okay, here is my next exciting whip, which doesn't necessarily look like much right now. Can you tell what it's going to be? It was going to be the Miles shirt jacket by Ozetta. While I was like picking out the wool in the store, that was what my plan was, but plans changed a little bit. I'll tell you all about it. But I bought this yarn when I was in Didsbury at the yarn merchant. Right when you walk into the store, they had this lovely wall of local wool, and I like had to get some. So what I ended up getting was the 100% natural Shetland Lopi. And so it's called the 40 Mile Project, one of a kind, grown, processed, or handcrafted within 40 miles of Didsbury, Alberta, Canada. And so obviously I love that. That is like, that's where I grew up. I didn't grow up in Didsbury, I grew up in Olds, but that's like part of Alberta I grew up in. This particular wool was grown on the Jorsvik farm near Olds, Alberta, and was milled in Carstairs at the custom woolen mills. And so, yeah, look at this giant skein. It's 120 grams. And so obviously that adds to its like chunk, but, yes, I am very excited about this project. So like I said, I planned for it to be the Miles shirt jacket by Ozetta. It's gonna be kind of like outerwear, kind of like, yeah. And I swatched while I was in Olds by making the pocket. And yeah, so I was in Olds at my parents' house visiting. I didn't have all of my knitting supplies with me, but I did have my set of blue shorties from the Chowgu set. And so I cast on with those, but I was literally using a 2-inch and a 3-inch needle tip. And that didn't work super great with this like bulky yarn. So can you see all of this rowing out on the bottom half here? I didn't notice it until I steamed it. And then I was like, oh dear. And so like, I'm quite sure I was using the same needle sizes once I got up here, but I was just using like a proper 4-inch needle tip then on a longer cable, and it just, obviously my tension was better and I like can't unsee it. And so I think I will be re-knitting this pocket, but it's fine. It was a great way to gauge swatch. I got gauge. And then literally the day that I was about to cast this on, earlier in the day, I had been wearing my Alchemy pullover, speaking of Nick, California, and I don't really like that sweater. I don't like how it fits. And as I had worn it earlier in the day, and I don't like this shoulder construction. I have decided, based on 2 sweaters I think that I have made that have this construction. And it seems to be very, very popular right now, where you like cast on this back edge and you make kind of like a trapezoid shape with like rapid increases, and then you pick up along there and then knit around to the front and then like join in the front. And so I had been wearing this sweater that day, thinking about how I don't like how this shoulder line sits. Like it bugs me across the back of my shoulder. And I had taken it off and then was thinking about how I'm like, yeah, I need to pay attention to that when I'm like about the construction of sweaters, like if they're going to have that or not. It seems to be, yeah, it's common. This one was also a little bit that way, but maybe because like it's not as like the shoulder, where the shoulder like pickup seam was like, it's like just barely back instead of it being like on your shoulder blade essentially. Anyways, I went to go cast on and then started reading through the instructions, and I was like, oh, that's literally what the construction is for the Miles shirt jacket. You cast on the back neck, you do rapid increases, and then knit straight down. And then you pick up and like knit around to the front. I was like, okay. And I'm like ready to go. Like had my pocket, like ready to cast on. I'm so excited. And I'm like, I don't want that construction. I don't want this to feel constricted around my shoulders because this like pickup line across my back that I don't like. And I find that it like makes it sit backwards, and it's like, no, I need it to sit forwards. And when this is going to be a like wear over top of something else sweater is the goal, to like nice crisp fall day, have my Miles shirt jacket on, you know. So I decided to copy the construction of the Gramercy tee that I had just finished that used saddle shoulders. And I really like how that one fits. And I like that you still get kind of that like detail of the shoulder and of the pickup, kind of change in direction of the knitting. But it just like that, I really like how that one fits. So I was like, surely I can just like expand that into this like bulky yarn and big oversized sweater. It's fine. And so I started knitting most of this, like I knit most of this, and then realized that it actually has a pattern that uses that shoulder construction. And so I could have just bought that pattern and like adjusted the gauge on that one. Let me double check what that one's called. The Lakes series from Ozetta uses the saddle shoulder. And so yeah, the Lakes cardigan is also bulky, 16 stitches, but I really like the shape of the mile skirt jacket. I like the collar. I like the uneven hem. I don't know what that shaping is called on the hem. And whatever, I'd already done the math to figure out how to do it based on the Gramercy tee. And so I'm using the construction of the Gramercy tee with the numbers from the mile skirt jacket, I guess. And I think it's working okay. Hopefully it's fine. I have to knit a couple more inches before I'm like at my proper like armhole depth on this back panel, and then I'll pick up for the front. I haven't looked ahead yet to what that next step is going to be, or just like crunch the numbers about how to do that. But so far I'm happy with how it's going, and I don't see rowing out on this part, so I think it just did have to do with my little tiny needles I was using. This has been slow though. I'm knitting it at probably a tighter gauge than what this yarn wants to be, which I think will be good for what the end result is that I want, but it's slow going. And like I'm using 4.5 millimeter needles. It's quite dense. It hurts my hands. I can't do it quickly. So I like do a couple of rows at a time. And I'm really hoping that my like pattern modification turns out okay. And this, I've also been steaming a lot as I go, and I think it'll be good. I'm excited for it. Okay, my next whip, I'm very excited about. When I did my Languishing Whips episode, one of the things I showed you was my Nightbook by Unwind Knitwear, and that it had just been sitting. I started it in 2021. I bought the yarn in 2020. And it has just been sitting for almost that entire time. And then when I was dealing with all of my like reorganizing my entire stash of yarn, obviously found it, like pulled it out again, baked it in the oven, and now it's been sitting in a bin staring at me instead of tucked away, not staring at me. And so I decided to recast it on, and I love it so much. So here is where I'm at with this beautiful color work. I just love it so much. My first version, I didn't rip it out yet. I got to the split for sleeves and started knitting a sleeve. At some point along the way, I realized, hey, my gauge is really tight. The gauge for this pattern is 27 stitches using fingering weight yarn. I had like 36 stitches per 4 inches, and I'd cast on for a size medium. Somewhere along the way realized that, oh, my gauge is kind of tight. I'll increase up to the size large. But like still, when my gauge is that much tighter, like it wasn't enough. This like little tiny little sleeve, even at the time, did not fit me. But it's like, it feels so nice. Like this yarn is beautiful. It's from Grenouille, which is a yarn dyer from New Brunswick, and this is the yarn, the exact yarn and colorways that the pattern was designed in. And I bought it as a kit back in 2020 when Grenouille was still on Etsy, and I love the colors so much. I just really want this sweater, and I was just discouraged about having to restart it, trying to figure out what I wanted to do. Yeah, so last week I re-swatched and swatched a couple of times. Getting 27 stitches in fingering weight yarn was tricky. This feels very loose and open compared to the very dense 36 stitches. I did consider just like going with a tighter gauge and then like crunching the numbers, but I just really want this to fit well. I don't want to worry about I just want to be able to follow what the pattern is telling me to do instead of me having to make modifications. And so, yeah, it's fine. I need to steam out what I've done here and then check my gauge just to make sure I'm on track. I've got a little bit more left, a couple inches left, and then I will be ready to split for sleeves, which is like, you know, I'm back to where I was. This has taken me like a week to do. I just have been obsessed with it. Also, one of the things that had kept me from recasting this on is that I knew that I had bought the yarn for the size medium. And I think at the time, even that was like pushing it a little bit, but I like didn't want to buy the next bundle for the next size, I think maybe is what was going on in my brain. And I was like, it's fine. I'll just knit the medium, thinking I could probably use the large, but like I didn't want to buy more yarn. And so now, many years later, like I'm not fitting into a medium size sweater. And so I'm knitting the extra large, and according to the yardage in the pattern, I just barely have enough. Like maybe have a little bit less. And I'm hoping that the like contingency that they add in sometimes to the yardage will allow for me to have enough yarn to finish this. If I need to do 3/4 sleeve, then I might do that. Another reason why I didn't want to mess with my gauge in case that affected how much yarn I was going to need. Anyways. Also has been interesting, knitting the exact same thing many years later, about how much better I am at knitting in general, and also how much better I am at reading the charts. When I was first doing this, the charts are written with a light background, and then the contrast color is dark, as most patterns are. But because this one is, the black is the main color, my brain had a really tough time figuring out what color I was supposed to be knitting, and messed it up multiple times on the first go round. And before I cast this on, I actually like started making the charts in the like inverse of the colors, and then it was such a pain in the butt, and so I like only got through 1 or 2, and then I was like, let me just try it and I'll see. And I think I can just like follow it a lot better than I could. I started it February 2021. We're coming up on 5 years. That's a lot more knitting under my belt since then. And yeah, I'm just like doing a better job of following where I'm supposed to be. I put in my trusty markers. I did mess up one of the increase rows because I can't count. I was at knit night, and then that was dangerous for me to be trying to increase on a colorwork sweater at knit night. The yarn is 8515 merino nylon, and it's just so nice. It's so soft and silky, and I love the colors so much. This is called lamp black, and then the contrast color is called bitter moon. And oh yeah, so over the last 5 years, I have been checking updates whenever Granny Way has an update pretty well, thinking I just need to buy more yarn. I'd buy one more skein of each, but they do limited stock updates, limited colorways, limited bases. And so there's been a couple of times that I could have bought one of these, but not both at the same time. And I just didn't. I either missed the update, decided, oh, I want to buy both. I think early on I didn't realize that like, oh, they do limited updates in their shop. I'm just going to use what I have. So I will use up my fresh ones before I unravel the first sweater. And I just really want to be able to wear this one day. It's such a beautiful pattern. I have been just obsessed with it since I first saw it. I've, in the meantime, knit a different pattern from Unwind Knitwear. And I just I love all of her sweaters. Like, I just love her aesthetic so much, and her color work style I just really like. Knitting this in the exact yarn that the pattern was designed in, I love. I don't do that very often at all, but I just love these colors so much. Something too about part of what makes this color, the contrast color, so nice to knit with is just the speckles that are in it are so interesting. Like, look at this section of yarn right here. So like when there is speckles, there's so many different colors, and I don't know if that's from like the dye splitting like purposefully, or if that's just like that many different colors that are like sprinkled on in the dye process. But you get these just like cool little blips of color. Sometimes the little blip of color is so dark that I can't distinguish it from the background color, which that also caused me problems the first go around because I couldn't keep track of where I was. So having all of my stitch markers, marking out my repeats is helping. The chart on the front of the body is like super wide, and so I'll have to pay more attention during that part, but I'm really enjoying this color work and like, I just really like it. Can you tell? I'm really excited about this sweater. Really hoping that the fit is okay. Yeah. I think I've got 1 or 2 more rounds, like increased rounds, before I split for the sleeves. And so, yeah, hopefully I will have a fun update to show you for that next time. I, one day, was feeling like I didn't want to work on anything. Out of my mini whips that I had, I didn't want to work on any of it. And so I cast on a ranunculus, which is really looking very small right now, but it's just on a little tiny cord. So look how miniature this is looking. What the heck? Okay. I should put this onto a try-on cord and try this on. I've kind of stalled out because I immediately messed up, as is my tradition when knitting a ranunculus. This will be my 3rd one, and I can't count sometimes. And so when I was doing the first like texture section, I again could not count. And so I immediately messed up the first texture section. Then I needed to steal my needles back for whatever else I was using them on. So, but this yarn, Birdie is like eating stuff down here, and I cannot physically like get up and chase her away from chewing on the thing because I'm like literally surrounded by all of my stuff. So I've just been yelling at her. It's not working. So I just called my son down to come and get her. And so Birdie has now been removed from the space. He comes down, he's just like munching on Doritos. What time is it? 10 a.m. It's fine. We do what we must sometimes, you know? Anyways, okay, so this yarn is very, very old stash that I bought at the Prairie Fiber Festival, actually, I think in 2021. It's from Wool Baron. I bought 2 skeins of this fingering weight yarn. This like just lovely purple color. I had started knitting a shawl by Wool and Pine, and it was taking forever. And so it just was like on hold for a long time before I finally ripped it out. And when I've been dealing with all of my mess of all of my yarn, I didn't know where to put it in my new system. And so it's just been sitting in a bin on my floor. So kind of like last time where I made that headband just for fun out of that Woolfolk skein that I had that I didn't know what to do with. I decided, I know what this should be. It should be a ranunculus. And so that's what it will be. But I've gotten this far. This looks like it is for a baby. And I have to rip back a couple rows. That will be fiddly to do. And so it's, this is as far as it's gotten, but it served its purpose that day of giving me something else to work on when none of my projects were appealing to me that time. So you may or may not see this again, but for now, purple ranunculus. That's all my knitting, at least for now. Let me show you what I bought when I was in Calgary. So I went to Ancient Arts and like just wandered up and down. I had my Taylor Swift inspo pictures out to like try and decide if I wanted to get something from them, but didn't end up buying anything there. Then I went to Little Bow Fiber Company, and which I hadn't been there before. Very cute little shop. Wandered around there, found some lovely yarn that I decided, yes, sure, I'll buy that. Let me plan out an entire project while I'm sitting here. And so I bought some beautiful colors. Actually, this is funny. As I was picking them out, I was like, hey, this kind of looks like my Instant Crush colors. Yes, it very much does. This is what I got. A lovely colorway that is very me. Of Blue Sky Fibers Woolstock worsted. So these are giant chunky skeins of 150 grams, 338 meters, and then these are 50 gram skeins. And so I decided that would be great for a colorwork sweater. And I decided on the Marshland by Tin Can Knits, which has been on my knit list for a very long time. I really love the design. I have planned a couple in the past and just like never knit them. And hopefully that's what this will turn into. This is very, very soft wool. It's 100% fine Highland wool, spun in Peru. It feels like it has alpaca in it. is what it reminded me of. I'm a little bit worried that I didn't buy enough yarn because I wasn't, like I said, I was just planning a project like on the fly. And I think I looked at the wrong yardages for the size that I need to make. So we'll see about that. I have 3 of these and then I guess 200 grams of contrast color. So maybe I'll have to change plans a little bit. The Marshland has color work like down past the sleeve split. And so there's just like more that's needed, obviously. But yeah, bought that. And then next day I went to Stash with my sister-in-law and wandered around. I haven't been there in a really long time. And so that was fun. But I'd seen on Instagram that they had gotten some new fiber in from Bramble Ridge. And the Hanui fiber that I wanted to try. And so I bought 2 braids of fiber and they're beautiful. And my plan is that I'm going to ply them together. I don't know how that will turn out. I have not spun since I was at my little retreat in June. I have yet to heat treat all of the rest of my fiber. I've done some of it, but I haven't done all of it. And so, not that I'm like, wow, I'm spinning up a storm, I need more fiber. But I just really want to try it. And these are just beautiful colors. This one's called Rageberry and this one's called Mushroom Hunt. And yes, I think they're cool. So yeah, there's my Thanksgiving acquisitions, I guess. We had a very nice Thanksgiving meal. I love turkey dinner is my favorite meal. Mostly because I really like gravy. And so then having like multiple different side dishes that you get to like smother in gravy. I really enjoy that. And so yeah, it was nice. We had a nice time with my family. We got to see Tom's sisters and my niece and nephew. And yeah, it was good. It was a good long weekend. Time is weird right now because of the teacher strike. And so like, yeah, my husband took Friday and Monday off for the long weekend, which was nice. And yeah, we stayed at a hotel in Calgary that had a pool. And so the kids had a great time playing in the pool and like going up and down the water slide like 20 times each every time we went to the pool. They're like just getting more comfortable in the water. And seeing them like, splash down into it wasn't a deep pool, but like sometimes slides like go into like a little runway thing that are like separate from the pool versus just like going into the pool. This one went into the pool and like this is the first time that they have done that and like been able to do that and not be scared. And so seeing them, get, just splashed and like covered in water and they're, they discover that it's really fun for dad to like pick them up and toss them into the water and like that it's fun to like jump off the edge of the pool into the water. Like these are all new things for them. They've never been like super comfortable in the water. And as much as they like, I don't want to go to swimming lessons. I hate swimming. It's boring. It's like, they don't know this yet, but I know that like us struggling through swimming lessons all of these years is what has made them be able to like have fun. Then when we go to a hotel pool and like they get to play and splash in the water and like have a great time and like it was really joyful. So that was really fun to see and I will try and remind them of that tomorrow when we have to go to swimming lessons and they're complaining about having to do it, but their comfort level in the water has just like skyrocketed this last year. And so I can also remind myself of that because going to swimming lessons is not my favorite activity. I have been knitting while I've been doing that, so that's nice, but it's very overstimulating going to swimming lessons. So I understand also for them why they don't always love it, but it is teaching them good skills and it's like, it's not just like a skill of swimming, but also like it's fun to play in the water. And so like being comfortable in the water, being comfortable having water splash in your face, being able to stick your head under the water, like it's fun. And so, yeah, anyways, that was part of our weekend. That was one of the highlights for us for sure for the weekend. And I brought a ton of knitting down, but I hardly knit. I worked on 1 or 2 crochet squares, over the weekend, but I didn't do much knitting. I guess I was busy visiting yarn stores. And so, my husband and my kids went for a walk on Saturday afternoon and I ditched and went to the yarn stores. So, yeah, anyways, there's my knitting update. I will say goodbye and I will catch you next time. Happy knitting. Bye.